Hitting Coinbase before some of the most well-known coins in the retail space, ANKR has come seemingly out of nowhere, and at one point even went from 140 million in market cap to 1.3 billion in the space of just a single month. But what is ANKR actually aiming to achieve? Stick around and let's talk about it. Hey guys, I'm Sprag, and if there's one project that has risen rapidly in popularity in the past few months due to its connections within the crypto space, it's ANKR. Founded by a very strong team of ex-Amazon engineers, tech leads, data scientists, and more, the ANKR team is not only very technologically capable, but also incredibly driven to making the token succeed, even going as far as to pivot the entire point of the project just to make sure it's profitable. While most people like to think of cryptocurrencies as being inherently altruistic, in reality, most coins are backed by a company that has staff and developers to pay. This means that in a lot of cases, the companies will actually take venture capital investment to make sure that their token does well. The problem is though that when governance is given to token holders and these venture capital firms hold those tokens, this means that the success and governance of a token actually purely just depends on the venture capital firms that are holding the majority of its supply. This actually goes unnoticed by a lot of the crypto community, where large coins that seemingly have very fair governance are actually purely decided by the venture capital firms that hold them. This is why ANKR made the decision not to take any venture capital funding, and why instead of selling off tokens to pay the developers and the staff at the ANKR team, they instead looked for alternate revenue streams, such as consulting. This is what actually helped them to build the very strong industry connections that they have now, and why it shouldn't actually be seen as a bad thing that the company has pivoted away from what ANKR was initially meant to be. They did it so that they could keep themselves self-funded and stay away from having to rely on big companies who could potentially turn the token into something they didn't want it to be. However, ANKR actually set out with a completely different initial goal in mind, instead aiming to purchase the unused and idle computing power left over in data centers and sell it to their customers using the ANKR token as payment. Their initial white paper outlined a problem within data centers where there was a lot of computing resource left over being unused due to the fact that cloud computing is on demand. There's a lot of space left over on each server that just isn't used. This would have meant that ANKR was actually in competition with some of the biggest names in the market, such as Amazon with AWS, Google Cloud, and more. However, due to the fact that ANKR would have been tagging on to the unused space left on these servers, they actually could have offered it to their customers at a much cheaper price. However, it was actually in implementing this initial version of ANKR that they realized there was a niche that could be carved out for themselves that was much stronger than the one they'd initially set out to fill. This was brought about after they built an incredibly strong network of contacts within the crypto space building this first version of ANKR. The ANKR team soon realized after building their initial blockchain and launching their mainnet that the infrastructure complexities that they were solving for were issues shared amongst many other blockchains. And because of this, it meant that in solving it for themselves, they could offer it as a service to users to solve for other chains. This, along with the fact that the team realized that Web 2 paradigms were actually fairly incompatible with Web 3 and the future of the internet, led the team down the path that it's currently taking the ANKR token down, which is the easy and rapid deployment of nodes, staking nodes, and allowing people to run full nodes on any of the chains compatible with ANKR, giving them full access to the APIs offered by those chains. Despite ANKR being initially known for the rapid and easy deployment of nodes on other chains, this isn't what I would consider to be their defining product. As in reality, all they're doing is renting server space from these data centers and allowing their users to set up nodes on them, which isn't exactly a competitive business model. Instead, ANKR can be broken down into 4 distinct products. The easy and rapid node deployment, API services and full nodes allowing developers to properly take advantage of cross-chain development, StakeFi, and also Ethereum Layer 2 services. Starting with the last of those, since the majority of ANKR's user base is actually building on top of the EVM, ANKR believes that the future of Ethereum is in the Layer 2 solutions, and this is an opinion shared by a lot of the crypto space. And this is particularly relevant right now with the scaling problems that Ethereum has while they work towards Ethereum 2.0. This is why ANKR has been working with various Layer 2 solutions such as Matic to provide API services to developers going forwards. However, more information on this has yet to be revealed. Which brings us on to StakeFi, which allows any users to stake on Binance Smart Chain or ETH 2.0, with the latter being able to be staked on for as low as 0.5 of an ETH. This is already proving to be incredibly popular, with over $350 million of BNB or Ethereum being staked via their nodes. One of the hardest barriers of entry for staking on ETH 2.0 is actually the cost of getting 32 Ethereum, which even with the current market crash, at the time of recording this video, would cost you $61,000. This means that only really the very early or the very wealthy could actually afford to stake this amount of ETH. StakeFi aims to change this by allowing you to convert your ETH to AETH, which then lets you provide liquidity to micropools on the ANKR platform. This essentially means that behind the scenes, ANKR is pooling together all of the resources of its users to make up the 32 ETH required to stake. This means that even though ETH 2.0 isn't live yet, you can actually still earn rewards from staking it, because you can just convert your AETH back into ETH at any point. Or you could even use your AETH in DeFi protocols that allow the use of it. On top of this, AETH would actually allow exchanges, dApps, or DEXs to provide Ethereum staking to their users just by simply using the protocol that ANKR has already built. However, the product that appeals to me most out of the ANKR roster is actually the ability to use the full nodes that you can deploy on their platform to access the APIs of any of the chains you have nodes on. This means as a developer, you can write applications that access the APIs of a variety of different nodes that are compatible with ANKR, which include chains such as Bitcoin, HBAR, NEO, and so many more. This works by using a protocol called RPC, or Remote Procedure Call, which allows the developer to access the full API of whatever chain they are running a node of. And finally, the thing that ANKR actually became known for: cheap and rapid node deployment. While almost anyone could technically learn how to run a node on a given chain, given that all it requires is some technical know-how or the ability to read developer documentation, a higher hurdle to get over is actually the monetary requirements to run a staking node, which are defined by the protocols themselves. This is why ANKR is aiming to provide the capability for anyone to run one of these nodes without the sometimes tens of thousands of dollars of upfront cost to do so, making deployment as easy as a single click. It's not hard to see why this caused such a rapid growth of ANKR, and also why the company is trying so hard to build protocols on top of this existing core foundation that they've got. This would allow even greater utilization of their services and make sure that they are not just known for node deployment, but also for managing to build an actual ecosystem surrounding those nodes. The thing is though, I've made it all the way to this point in the video and I'm still actually yet to mention the ANKR token, and some of you might be wondering what the point of it is. The ANKR team didn't want the token to be tied intrinsically to the usage of the platform. For example, with ICP, compute cycles actually cost ICP. This means that as the price of the token rises, so does the cost of using the network, and at a point it would become more beneficial to someone to just hold the ICP than actually use it. On the flip side, ANKR pays the server providers using the token itself, and because the ANKR token is also locked by its users staking it, means that the demand is always there for the token, and because of the capped supply, means that as long as the demand isn't artificial, which in this case it isn't, the price should in theory just continue to go up. But those of you who've watched some of my other videos will know that I don't think it's possible to have a perfect product. And as such, I do have some concerns with ANKR. Firstly, RPC works by taking code that is currently executing on one machine and executing it instead on another. This is how it manages to provide such a comprehensive API to so many different chains. However, to actually identify which node the code should be running on and then execute the code requires some sort of middleman or gateway in between to make sure the whole thing runs smoothly. This RPC gateway unfortunately means that right now there is some degree of centralization. However, ANKR are working to add more RPC gateways to aid in the decentralization of this aspect of their services. Secondly, I always start my research for these videos by reading the company's white paper if they have one, and as such, I had researched and written a full script on ANKR before I realized I genuinely didn't actually know what they were currently doing. This is why I missed last week's video upload despite thinking I actually had it ready, because upon reading my script back, I realized it was just a jumbled mess. While yes, the current information about what ANKR is doing is available on Medium and on their website, there's a large amount of information that was written prior to their pivot into the DeFi space. Some of this even actually shows up on the first page of Google when you just search the word ANKR. I am attributing this to the rapid growth of ANKR and the fact that they are still a relatively small team. However, as someone that approached this with fresh eyes and had no idea what the project was doing, it was almost like I was reading about two different coins with the same name, because I would click one link and they'd be talking about decentralized computing, and then I'd click the next and they'd be talking about staking. However, I will take a moment here to give a huge thanks to Josh, the head of product over at ANKR, who, after I took to the subreddit to say I genuinely had no clue what ANKR was about or what they were doing, jumped in a call with me and took me through everything I needed to know to make this video. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to include everything he told me in this video because otherwise it would have just been too long. But this is a project I would love to do a follow-up on in the future because I know that they have a lot of things behind the scenes that I'm very excited to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry it was a week late, but as I explained in the video, it's because I thought I had this script ready and I just didn't want to put it out in the state it was in, and I wanted to get further clarification and just make sure that my facts were straight. And I'm glad I did, because the video I would have put out last week would have been filled with just inaccuracies and garbage, basically. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like and a comment down below, and if you just generally enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. Thanks, bye.